To get a photograph looking its best, many photographers, myself included, use denoise, sharpening and enlarging tools. Denoise can get rid of unwanted grain and compression artifacts. Sharpening can enhance the details in an image and make its various elements really pop. And enlarging means you can print larger than would be possible with the original image. The question is, in what order should you run these various processes in order to get the best end result? Does it really matter which way round you use these powerful tools? I have my own processes, of course, but I wanted a definitive answer based on facts rather than my own gut feelings. And so I consulted the experts, the guys that created the amazing post-processing tools we have at our disposal. And now I'd like to share what I have discovered with you. Before we get started, and in case you're an impatient bastard like me, I will cut straight to the chase. The order is this: basic raw edits, denoise, larger edits, sharpen, enlarge. There are specific reasons to do things in this order, and once I explain the logic, I'm sure you'll understand why it's best to do it in that order. There are many tools with which you can enhance your photograph and reveal its sometimes hidden charms, but no matter which tool you use, for best results, you should 1. Do your basic tier 1 raw processing, color balance, highlights, shadows, white and black points, and then output as a TIFF. 2. Denoise your photograph. 3. Do any further tier 2 edits to color, vibrance, levels, etc. 4. Sharpen the TIFF you just created. And then 5. Enlarge that TIFF if necessary prior to export. Alright, so those are the bullet points. Here's the in-depth explanation. Now obviously there are some tweaks and changes that are only possible while you're working on a raw file, and since running most denoise, sharpen and enlarging algorithms require a flat bitmapped file, you need to do those raw tweaks first. Yes, Lightroom and other raw editors have detail enhancement and noise reduction tools you can use at the raw stage, but they don't have anything near the capabilities of something like a full AI denoise and sharpening tool. Lightroom will not clean up high ISO noise, for instance, the way that something like Topaz Labs Denoise AI will. So run through all the basic first tier stuff you normally do. Correct the white balance, bring up the shadows, drop the highlights, apply those corrections that you can only do with the raw image data contained within a raw image file. I would also do blemish and dust spot removal at this stage using the healing or clone repair tool in whatever photo editor you use. And if you're using something like Luminar Neo, I'd also do stuff like power lines removal at this stage. You should now export your photo as a TIFF file. We use TIFFs because they are uncompressed image files as opposed to something like a JPEG, which is a lossy compression format. So export as a 16-bit ProPhoto RGB TIFF file to retain all your image and color data. It's now time to use your denoise tool of choice. So the reason that we denoise the photograph first is, when you think about it, actually pretty obvious. If you don't denoise early, then what you're actually doing is editing the noise itself, grain and compression artifacts that you plan to remove. Why edit something you're going to get rid of anyway? If you denoise early in the process, then you're setting yourself up to work on a much cleaner image in the later stages. Denoising effectively removes pixels, while all the other processes are effectively additive. You will also find that, particularly with the AI denoise tools, they are much more effective when the photograph has not been heavily edited yet. The algorithms were mainly trained on unedited raw files, and they are most effective when applied to images that are similar to their training data. Now, this next stage depends on your photo. If you plan to make further transformative edits to things like color saturation, curves or levels, then you should do those now. So open the photo in the editor of your choice: Lightroom, Capture One, Luminar Neo. DxO, Photolab, whatever you use, and make those second tier edits. Remember, however, that if you are working in something like Lightroom, which uses a non-destructive workflow, even for TIFFs, then you'll need to re-export your freshly tweaked photo with all of those changes. If you're editing it in Luminar Neo, Pixelmator Pro, Photoshop or Affinity Photo, then saving the TIFF will overwrite the old one and you're good to go. The main exception to the processing order thus far is when you're using an AI Sharpen tool to correct for motion blur or missed focus. In those cases, you should sharpen and correct for motion blur and missed focus before doing all those second tier edits. Okay, so now it's time to sharpen your image. Open your TIFF file in your editor of choice and adjust according to your own tastes. If you're using an AI sharpening tool, then it'll analyze your photo and make some decisions regarding the image. In some applications, such as Topaz Denoise, the app will make suggestions as to the problem with the image, but I wouldn't get too hung up on the names. If the app is suggesting your image has motion blur when you know it doesn't, then don't stress about it. Simply compare the various outputs and use the one that works best for you. Remember that less is more, and it's usually best to choose the least aggressive sharpening model to get the most natural looking image. If your app has the ability to mask out sections prior to sharpening, then you should use it. Normally you wouldn't want to sharpen the sky because clouds are not well known for having crisp edges. It'd be a different story if you were sharpening a photo of lightning, but generally speaking, sharpened skies do not look great. If your sharpening app does not have a masking tool, then consider importing the sharpened and unsharpened shots as layers into a photo editor like Photoshop, masking the sky on the sharpened image so that the unsharpened sky shows through, and then saving it out again. The final step in the process is to enlarge it. This should be the last step in post-processing, because otherwise you're simply enlarging the bad stuff right along with the good stuff. Good AI-based enlargement apps such as Topaz Labs Geiger Pixel AI, On One Photo Resize AI or Luminar Neo's Upscale AI don't just increase the pixel dimensions of an image, they enhance it too. Yes, you may well want to increase the size of a photo so you can print it larger, but there are other reasons too. For instance, you may have cropped into the original image and found yourself working with a much smaller photo, or you may be restoring a damaged photo. Good enlarging software can bring that photo back to its original size and resolution whilst retaining all the processing work you've already done. So there you go guys, the best workflow for getting the most out of your images. Light tier 1 raw processing, denoise, heavier tier 2 processing, sharpen, enlarge. It's always best to try and get an image as perfect in camera as possible, but denoise, sharpen and enlarge tools can make up for shortcomings in your camera equipment or to deal with unavoidable issues such as poor light. In the modern era of AI-based tools, it's possible to bring even the shonkiest of images back from the dead, but you can still use these applications with a light hand and retain a natural look in your photos if that's what you want. And that'll do us for this video guys. If you got value from it, then please flick me a like and let the YouTube algorithm know that I'm doing a good job. And if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, then do me the honour of hitting that big red subscribe button to see more of my content in your YouTube feed. Till the next time guys, ta-ta.